17x plus 3. First thing we're going to do is break this apart. So we know, as you can see here, that is that my 20x squared has to come from my first two terms in this parentheses that I'm trying to create. Alright, so first term, second term, first term, second term. 20x squared has to come from that. My outer and inner have to give me a 17x, and my last have to give me 3, my last two terms. Okay, and the outer was this one and this one, outer and inner. So my factors of my a, which is a, member, is your first term. When you take the factors here of 20, what do we get? 1 times 20, and then here you can see they showed you what 1 times 3 plus 1 times 20 would be. So if I'm saying 1 and 20 would be what we use, when you multiply them across here, what are we going to get? So if I had 20x and x, when I multiplied here, I'm going to get 20x squared, so that checks there. And now, what's going to happen over here? Well, if I would do 3 and 1 to get this last term here, what gives us? Now, there's a couple different ways we can do this. 20x squared times x is going to give me 20x squared. That checked. 20 times 1 is 20 plus 3 is going to give me 23x, and then 3 times 1 is 3. That would work. Or we could switch these and do 1 here, 3 here. 3 times 20 is 60, plus 1 would give me like a 61x. So obviously 1 and 20 do not work. So now 2 and 10 are my other factors. So we're just kind of working through our factors. So each time you have a factor, what I would recommend doing is just kind of plugging and chugging. And eventually, as you do more of these reps, things are going to get a little easier, but until then, these do take some time. So I'm saying let's try 2 and 10. So 10x. So when I do my first, I'm going to get 20x squared, okay? And that's what we're trying to go for in my FOIL. Now, what are my multiples to get 3 in my last term? Well, there's really only 1 and 3. So we can either put it in this way, or put the 3 here and move your 3 and 1. So we could do, we're trying to get 17x in the middle. Outer, we're going to get 2 times 3 is 6x. Inner, 10x. We're going to get 16x. We're close, but not close enough. So, next one we do. First and last work. Now inner. We got to check our inners. 2x times 1 gives me 2x. 3 times 10 is 30x. That gives me 32. Still doesn't work. So we got to try another factor. So let's try factors 4 and 5 for my outer and inner to try to get that 17, because once again, let's make your parentheses and you're just plugging and chugging through. 4x, 5x. My first term is 4x times 5x, which is 20x squared. That works. And my last term is 3. So I know I need, my only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So 1 and 3. Or I can go 4x with the 5 with the 4, and then do, oops, I'm sorry, this should be a 3. Put a 3 and then a 1. So I'm just reversing my last term. So let's try them both. 5x. Actually, I'm going to try this one first because it doesn't work, and then I'll show you the other one. So here, if this is what I would put down first, we got 4x, inner, 15x. It's going to give me 19x, so that does not work. So this one doesn't work. So this one doesn't work. Let's take a look at this one. 5, my outer, 5 times 3 is 12x. 5 times 1 is 5. 12x plus 5x is going to give me 17x. Yay, that's what we're looking for. So, as you can see here, we have my 4 times my 3 for my outer. So we need the 4 and the 3, and then the 1 and the 5 to go for my inner to get my 17x. Let's take a look here at another. So what am I looking for when I ask you to originally to factor this out? This here, these two ordered pairs, is what I'm looking for. Where am I? These ordered pairs. Okay, 2 sets is what I'm looking for. Take a look at another example. So here I have a negative and a negative. So because they're both negatives, I know this number here in my parentheses. 1 is going to be addition and 1 is going to be subtraction. How do you know which one's going to be which? Well, it's whichever one, when you do your inner and outers, create a negative 7. Okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. And this truly is like trial. Just constantly try it, try something else, until you get it. So first thing we're going to look at is my factors to get 3. 3 is a really nice number to start because it's not like 20 where there was 5 different ones to try. This one, there is only 1 and 3. So that is really, really nice. So we know my first term, how am I going to get 3? 1 and 3. And then my last term, how am I going to get negative 6? Either I can do positive 1 or negative 6 or a positive 6, negative 1. So I like to make my parentheses and then just keep trying. So I have an x and a 3x. Okay? To make 6, I'm trying to make 7. So I can try 6 and 1. And you can plug these in both ways. Alright, so 1 times x gives you x. 6 times 3 is 18. It's going to give you 19x. That doesn't work. So now let's go the other way. Let's go 1 and 6 here. That's going to give me 6x and 3, which gives me 9x, which is still not what I'm quite trying to get. So we look at another one. And this piece here is just flipping it around. Which one goes with which for your negatives and positives? Let's try 2 and negative 3. So maybe I'll stick with this one. My factors here, 1 and 3. Alright, and let's plug in 2 and negative 3. So I can plug in 2 and negative 3. So we're going to get 2 plus negative 9, which is going to give me my negative 7. And, oops, didn't have enough quite room. So we know this happens to be the one that works. So, like I said, we're going to get an x, and actually they do a really nice job here. We know 1 and 2 need to be together, so we split them up, and negative 3 and 3. I just feel like this is a little more confusing than if you just constantly are trial and error, and you will get better at this as you go through. But these are the 2 parentheses, the factors I'm looking for from your trinomial here. Last example today. First thing when you see, to make that whole factoring out easier, is if you can pull something out from your original. We see we can pull out a 3 from everything. So pull out a 3 from 18, you get left with 6. Pull out a 3 from 33, you get left with 11. Pull out a 3 from 30, you get left with 10. Now, we just have to worry about now 6, my factors of 6, and my factors of 10. So, factors of 6, 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and that is it. Factors of 10 are 1 and 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5, and that is it. Now, once again, we have to be careful here, okay? Look at your signs so you know what that is telling you. Because it's a negative 10, I know in my parentheses, 1 has to be negative and 1 has to be positive. How do I know which one? Well, whichever one's going to lead to the positive, the bigger number here that's going to be created, you want that positive 11, so that's where you'll put them accordingly. So let's start trying some different factors. I can do x and 6x, and I can plug in. Once you start doing these, you're going to find out that these big numbers sometimes don't always work, and you're trying to get 11. So you really, how do I know which one to pick? You just pick them. Okay, you've got to keep going through. There's no like good rhyme reason. Things will start to click a little bit better as you do more of these. So let's plug in 1 and 10. So x times 6 is going to give me 6x squared, which is my first. Outer, or last, is my 10, factors of 10. And we need them to be negative. So we're going to make them positive and negative here. We're going to get inner a 6x and an outer 5x, or 10x. There's no way 6 or 10, with one being positive, one being negative, is going to create 11, so this doesn't work. So now let's flip it. Let's put 10 here, and let's make this the 1. So we have 10 times 6x is going to give you 60x, and then outer is going to be x times 1, 1x. Well, that's 61x. That doesn't work either. So we just keep plugging away. We can stick with x and 6x if you want, and let's just plug in my other 2 and 5. 2 and 5. In the middle here, my inners, I'm going to get 12x, and outers, I'm going to get 5x. And I'm trying to get 11, knowing one's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. That doesn't work. So let's flip them. Let's make this 5, and this one 2. What do we get? 5 times 6 is 30. Outer is going to be 2. That's going to give me a 28. Like, one's negative, one's positive. It's still not going to work. So the whole part of my A's being my first.
Baxter, please, page 303. Miss Baxter, 303.
My first terms being 1 or 6, that just doesn't work. Now, here I got 2 and 3. So let's start with my coefficients 2x and 3x. Plug in my terms here, 2 and 5 or 1 and 10. Now, we're going to find that we need to try. I'm going to start with the 2 and 5. You just kind of working your way through. So here for my inner, I'm going to get 2 times 3, which is 6x, and outer is going to be 10x. Positive negatives is still not going to work. Let's try 5 and a 2 here. Well, inner, I'm going to get a 15x. 5 times 3 is 15. And outer, 2 times 2 is 4. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Now, if one of these are negative, like let's say I have a negative 4 here, 15 minus 4 is going to give me that 11x. That is what we've been looking for. That is exciting. So I need to get this to be a negative 4. So what am I going to do? Put the negative 2 here. So on the outer, it works. So I have 2x plus 5, 3x minus 2. Now we can check this. First, 2x times 3x is going to give me 6x squared. Outer, 2x minus times a negative 2 is going to give me a negative 4x. Inner, I'm going to get a positive 15x. Last, I'm going to get a negative 10. This is going to give me a positive 11x minus 10 with a 6x squared still out front. And that is what we started with. Okay, we do have still need to include, I guess, that 3 out front. So these right here, oh, I'm struggling today, are the factors that we need. That is all for today.